day in South Carolina. There is so much great things that I want to talk about today, but the first thing I have to talk about that's great in my life is I've got the coolest first man ever with me, Michael. So where do we begin? Do I start by saying Charleston was named the #1 vacation spot in the country? We finally beat San Francisco. Or do I say that we have brought over $5 billion in investment in the state of South Carolina? We had a Michelin expansion this last week, and I know y'all heard about it. Yes. The 9th plant in the state of South Carolina. And as of next year, South Carolina will now be the #1 tire producer in the country. That all happened in this last year. We build planes, we build cars, we build tires. We just brought another company that makes candy. The name of the company? Awesome Candy. Guess where it came from? China. That's what we're doing. Otis Elevator. Over 22,000 jobs have come. We have dropped the unemployment rate 7 months in a row. South Carolina is on the move, and we're moving in the right track. I will tell you that what continues to be the hardest part about my job is the federal government. I knew we'd have to deal with balanced budgets. I knew we'd have to deal with tax reform. I knew we'd have to deal with restructuring. What I didn't know was on a day-to-day basis how much I was going to have to deal with President Obama. And what I will tell you is the people of this state, it was the will of the people of this state to say we want illegal immigration reform, and we passed one of the strongest illegal immigration reform bills in the country. We passed it in South Carolina. But President Obama and the Department of Justice have stopped that. They're not letting it go through. So we're going to sue them, and we've sued them, and we're going to continue to do that. They are continuing to try and pass a mandatory health care bill that will break the state of South Carolina. We've sued them for that one, too. We said in the state of South Carolina, if you've got to show a picture ID to buy Sudafed, if you've got to show a picture ID to get on a plane, you should have to show a picture ID to protect the integrity of the voting process. We have said in the state of South Carolina, President Obama and the Department of Justice have stopped it. We've sued him on that one too. So we're going to keep the lawsuits going. But we also saw one other thing happen. The National Labor Relations Board did the unthinkable, the most un-American thing we have ever seen. They created 1,000 jobs, Boeing did, in Charleston, South Carolina. At the same time, expanded 2,000 jobs in Washington State. Not one person was hurt. Yet the National Labor Relations Board of President Obama went in and sued Boeing and said that they couldn't do it. It was the most unthinkable thing we had ever seen. And they basically were telling the world, and he said it in front of joint session of Congress, we want things made in America. And I told President Obama, we've got some planes in Charleston, South Carolina that we're trying to make in your style with us. But guess what? Due to the fact that it's a re-election year, and this probably wasn't the best issue for him to be running on, they dropped that suit. What was 1,000 people in Charleston is now 6,000 people in Charleston. About that issue, we're going to continue to get loud about all these issues to go forward. We have watched our country go through what was a brutal Republican primary. And as we continue to watch that primary go through, we all had our decisions on what we wanted. What we all will agree on is what we don't want. And we do not want 4 more years of President Obama. Stay on message. Whenever they try and distract and say the Republicans have a war on women, we'll tell them no, they don't. By the way, we're very proud of our working moms in and out of the home. When they try and distract on other things, we're going to remind everyone that President Obama has incurred more debt in 3 years than President Bush did in his 8. the unemployment rate would not get above 8% if we took his stimulus package. It hasn't gotten below 8%, and we will continue to remind them. We will remind them that they have not balanced their budget, and even with a majority-controlled Democrat Senate, he hasn't even gotten one vote. Not one vote. That's what we will remind President Obama. That's what we all need to center around as we go into November. Whenever he distracts, we come back to the message. That's the way we will win in November. And I do So what are we doing in the state of South Carolina? We did great things. We finally have our legislators voting on the record. We passed tort reform. We passed illegal immigration reform, voter ID. We're doing a lot of great things. So where are the challenges? Because this is where I always come to you for help. We are about to pass one of the largest restructuring efforts that we've had in 25 years. Every governor has tried to do it. We have the ability to do this. Let me tell you what we have. We have that big green ugly monster I talked about, the Budget Control Board. 5 people. I chair it. I don't enjoy it. We need to get rid of it. And this Budget Control Board controls everything state government has. Let me give you an example. The chef in the kitchen at the residence needed Neosporin. And he said, had to call the Budget Control Board to get it. He called the Budget Control Board and they said, you need to buy a first aid kit. He said, I have 5 first aid kits. I don't need another one. A first aid kit is $65. He said, I just need a tube of Neosporin. They said, I'm sorry, you've got to buy a first aid kit. Wow. There was a sink in the residence that just stunk. It was horrible. We had a group of manufacturing executives. We were talking about expanding their businesses, all of those. This sink had stunk since Mark Sanford and Jimmy Sanford moved into the house. And we constantly said, fix it, fix it. Well, all of a sudden, if you turn the water on, it would happen. We had tape over the sink and someone turned the water on. And there, with a lot of executives in the house talking to them about South Carolina, was this terrible odor. We had asked for years to just let us call a plumber. But no, you had to go through the Budget Control Board. They heard me tell the story and the manufacturing executives backed it up. So we now have a clean sink and it doesn't stink anymore, but why should we have to go through a Budget Control Board to do that? So for those of you that are interested in knowing what the Budget Control Board is, or more importantly, what my role is, imagine a CEO in a company that has no control over its human resources. Imagine a CEO of a company that has no control over its IT services and emails and data centers. Imagine a CEO that has no control of the buildings and the cars and all of the property. That's me. That's your governor in South Carolina. We have no control over that. The Senate made a huge effort, did a strong move of restructuring that will now get rid of all of that. That will, for the first time in 25 years, show us real restructuring. We will be like 47 other states and have a Department of Administration. Huge move for the Senate, and I want to thank them for that. Now the holdup is, it's been sitting in the House floor for 4 weeks now. No movement. They passed it the first time and said they wanted it, and now when it came back to them, we're not seeing any movement. This is what I need from you. We don't need this to go backwards. We don't need these people who want to keep the Budget Control Board. We don't need that. You will hear people say, but it creates other boards. The Inspector General that we finally passed that can go and do any research without any influence whatsoever needs to stay in independent office. He needs to work for the taxpayers, not for the governor, not for anybody else. That's an independent office. The BEA, the estimates, they're wanting to put that. I should not be in control of the estimates and revenues of South Carolina, nor should your legislature be in control of the revenues of South Carolina. An independent body should decide what those things are. That's what it's going to come down to. This bill is not perfect, but it's the strongest we've seen. Your House is going to take it up. Don't let them move backwards. There's no excuses that it doesn't get passed this year. There's no excuses to move it backwards. This is not going to hurt the credit rating agencies. I was on the phone with all 3 of them this week. They all know what we're trying to do. I stay in touch with them. This is not going to hurt the credit rating agencies. Let's do what's right for South Carolina. Everybody across the country is watching to see if we get this done. Let's show them that we can get it done.
We'll pass the Senate.
It passed the Senate, now we need it to pass the House. So this is the next step, tax reform. We have heard it talked about for many years. And what I will tell you is, I think the legislature was genuine in wanting real tax reform. The problem is you couldn't do all that all at once because they didn't know how it was going to impact the budget. So this year what we did was we funded tax reform. And we said, let's phase out the corporate income tax. The biggest recruiting tool you could give me is phasing out the corporate income tax. Because all of a sudden, you think the companies are coming in now, they really come in. The second thing is we said, let's bring the individual income tax from 6 brackets to 3. Anybody making $5,000 or more in the state would not see any sort of tax increase. Everybody would see a tax reduction. We have to have that. And then we said, let's open up the property taxes so that we can start reducing property taxes in the state of South Carolina. Manufacturing tax is still one of the highest in the country. We want to make sure we bring it down. You bring that down from 10.5 to 6. Boeing's don't pay that. Michelin's don't pay that. But you know who does pay that? Our little guys. And if they have cash flow and they have profit margins, they're going to hire people. They're going to invest back into their businesses. So that's what we want to see in tax reform. The House has made a good move in introducing tax reform bills. And I applaud them for that. We funded it in the budget. We actually paid for it in the budget, so it would immediately get paid for. They did not. They spent the money. If we truly mean that we're going to do this, then fund it. If you're truly sincere, then fund it. Because otherwise, all you're doing is saying, well, I've got a tax reform bill, and we know if it passes the House committee and House floor, the chances of it passing the Senate committee and the Senate floor and getting to my desk by the 1st of June is almost impossible. So fund it. That's what we did. We funded it, we passed it, we laid the groundwork. It didn't happen in the House, now it's going to the Senate. We need the Senate to fund it in their budget. Fund tax reform. We have watched everything else come first with the taxpayers in the state of South Carolina. It is time we take care of our businesses and our people in the state of South Carolina and let them know that they come first. So other than that, I will tell you that these are natural issues that come to play when you are dealing with things. We are debating, but we're debating good issues. We're not debating increasing taxes. We're not debating bringing unions in. We're debating things that are going to affect our business climate and what are going to affect our households. So know that everything is going in a good direction. Companies keep coming. We're going to have the companies still come. This past week, we had the RBC Heritage sponsored by Boeing. And let me tell you, if you will think back a couple of years ago, everybody said we can't lose that $82 million investment in South Carolina. And they wanted to go to the legislature to do it. They wanted the legislature to bail out the golf tournament. And I said, we do not want a golf tournament sponsored by the taxpayers of South Carolina. We went out, we got RBC, we got Boeing. They have record sales this week. Everything has been through the roof. That we have seen as I've crossed the country, the excitement and the pride of South Carolina is so strong.
Amen.
They are seeing the goodness of us bringing industry in. They're seeing the goodness of tourism doing well. They're seeing the goodness of conservative issues being pushed. And they're seeing the goodness that South Carolina elected a 38-year-old Indian American female for governor. And I thank you for that. Just one last thing, the family's doing great. Michael continues to be that great Army officer that we love every day, and I will tell you the kids are great. Rena is getting ready for cheerleading tryouts, and we're excited about that. Naylor's playing basketball. He's still trying to convince his dad to give him a year off. He's tired, and his dad says, you know, you're going to finish the 4th grade. So you're doing very well. I thank you for asking about my heels. No, they are not a fashion statement. They're ammunition. I'm going to be just fine. Don't worry. The more they throw at me, the more motivated and strong I get. So thank you for your support. Thank you for the work you do.